campaigns profitable for them, and then we would basically, once they were up and running, kind of automated, we would train them or their team, and then we pass it off. So Greg realized like I was fairly good at doing that, training people, and he said, you need to, basically instead of us managing campaigns, just train people to do this stuff. So that's kind of how I got into the consulting side of things. That was probably back in 2009 or so. So I've had a lot of success on that end. As I'm sure probably Edmund has told you, with a lot of guys, several of them were there in Mexico. I know that Michelle had met, who are doing 6 figures a month. Tyler and his team, they did over 7 figures last year. And there was a couple other guys who just got it started with us, who are, kind of, they're making money, $1,000 a day here and there, that were at the event as well. So, and there were some other guys there that I didn't coach directly, but they've taken training from me from like a course or a webinar, or I do a monthly newsletter. So they've read that and they've kind of implemented some of the strategies. So the stuff I teach, has worked really well for guys of all levels and skill sets. So, so in a nutshell, I mean, that's kind of one part of our business, and where I'm actually really good at helping people out in that regards.
So I was telling Vanessa you have 100% success rate.
Okay, let me say this. I have a 100% success rate with people who take consistent action and implement as far as making money with what I teach. So for the guys who because the stuff that I teach, it's like real simple. I give guys everything. Like literally, it's like buy email addresses here, and we call leads. Buy emails here, send them these emails, contact these networks who will provide you the offers or the products. We call them offers. Who will provide you the offers that will pay you money when somebody completes a form. So yeah, so the people who follow what I do make money. So obviously, as far as I look at success as like long-term sustainability. So obviously, the more consistent people are, the higher level of success they have. So, so yeah, I have a high rate of success with people making a lot of money. But it really comes down to like implementation. So yeah, everybody who does what I say will make money. But when it comes to like large-scale profits and all that, it really just comes down to consistency. Because in our industry, because I know you guys are in the real estate space, but we're in the internet marketing space basically. And what happens a lot in our industry is people buy a product, and then they'll get excited, and then they'll implement, and they'll be like, and then they get another email about another, amazing opportunity. Then they jump to that one, and so forth and so on. So, so basically, what I always preach is like, if you want to do like 6 figures a month, or even just 10,000 a month, that you have to be consistent. And the way that I help people with the consistency side of things is, help them build a team, even if it's just like one other person, just to help them with the busy work. So, so yeah, from that standpoint, yeah, everybody who implements and does what I say makes money. But that's the easy part. Like the way that we do things, it's like really easy to make money. It's not. It's really about sustainability and large volumes and maintaining that. Is like kind of what that's kind of what I focus on, because the money is easy to make, but not everybody's going to be excited making $100 a day. But go from $100 a day to $5,000 a day. There's like infrastructure things that you need to have in place. That's kind of where I focus on as people start scaling their email marketing business.
Okay. Yeah, I know Michelle was mentioning to me that at least in 30 days you would see results, and I was asking her, so is that in terms of just one person solely building that out, building out the infrastructure, making the network connections? But in our case, with Deals and High Heels, and we have a team of individuals, could we actually expedite that process and see results sooner? Or what has been your experience with those who've already had somewhat of a team in place to help, opposed to single individual?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Yeah, like so there's several ways that you can make money with email marketing, and I've taught a bunch of different ways. But one of the ways that has had the most success were the guys, Michelle, you met Muhammad, where he's doing $100,000 a month with. Like you can set it up in like, I mean, if you're like completely new to this, it might take you a week to set everything up. If you're like actually spending if you're spending maybe an hour a day. But if you're like saying, okay, I'm going to spend an entire day, or have somebody in your team where I'm training that person on your team to set everything up, the setup process takes a few hours. But the things that take the longest is like getting the ads approved and getting approved for the networks. But you just basically mention my name and they approve you right away. So that's not an issue. So that stuff is not an issue. So from like going from like knowing nothing to like making like your first dollar, it would be probably less than a week if you were doing like putting in work every day. And then it's just a matter of just rinsing and repeating and scaling and then optimizing. And that's kind of where the real work comes in. As far as like making money, there's not that many moving pieces to make money with it. But as far as optimizing it, making sure your profit margins are higher and that you're doing the things that I'm instructing you guys to do in order to maximize your revenue. And then you actually doing it, because it's not a situation where I'm doing it for you. It's like I say, okay, guys, do this. In the way I work, it's like kind of action steps, like do this and then complete this step, then do this next step, then do this next step. So that by the time you go through it, you're like making money. But I'm saying, okay, well, now you're making money. That's like the easy part. Now it's like now we have to scale it and start depending on how aggressive you want to get, because some guys want to get super aggressive. Then there's a different strategy for that versus guys who want to kind of just get their feet wet, make sure that they feel comfortable with it before they start getting aggressive. And what I mean by aggressive is essentially like you're buying email addresses and they cost money. So aggressive means like how much are you willing to spend on leads where you feel comfortable, because a lot of people, they have to kind of let it sink in, the reality, like, hey, I might be buying $10,000 worth of leads a month and I might be breaking even the first 2 weeks, but then after that I'm profitable. Then month 2, your margins are increasing. Then like some of my guys month 3 and on, like, they're buying less leads, but they have such a large list, and then they're tapping into other resources that I kind of start talking about as people kind of realize that this is like, especially if you build a team, because there's some longer term strategies in play where you can scale much more quicker. But there's like different things, like you have to, it costs more money, but as far as like the amount you have to spend, but the margins are much higher. So those are strategies I talk about as you scale, like to the 6-figure month level, essentially. But at the end of the day, from going from zero to making like your first couple $100, that could be in the first 2 weeks of like getting started and saying like do X, Y, Z, and just starting to implement everything, because there's everything. There's nothing I leave out. So it's not like do this and figure it out. It's kind of like do this, do exactly this thing, and talk to this person and mail this specific email message. That type of instruction.
Okay. You mentioned about when I was there, and I talked to a few people. Like Mike told me he had been working with you for I think 4 months now, and
yeah.
he's at like 30,000 net a month. What?
No, go ahead.
And I know you mentioned about, because as Vanessa's talking, we already have a team. Actually, we have some team members here. We're going to introduce them to you in a minute. But we have a team that work with us because we have systems we implement here for real estate, on the real estate side. But as far as you were saying that in 4 months, you should be at a minimum about $10,000 net, and that's putting in about $3,000 in a month. But if we wanted to scale up, because I know Tyler, from what Tyler and Ryan, and I'm speaking from from the feedback that they gave me, that from last February, I guess, to this month, they're over like $250,000 a month. But I know that they scaled up pretty big. So like what numbers are we looking at to get within 90 days at 25,000, 30,000? Like what does it take to, what do you have to put in, and what type of team do you have to get to that 6-figure? Because for us, that's what we would be looking to do. We would be looking to go to that level.
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so with Mike, so I don't know his experience beforehand. Like Mike, I would consider a newbie. So like the course that I taught, that Mike was in back in October at Greg's event, like I knew he was making money. I didn't know the specific numbers, but I knew he was doing well with it. So not everybody like tells me how much they're making. I just know he was doing well, and he was trying to scale to like the 6. He was like, okay, he said he's doing mid 5 figures. That's kind of what he told me. And then basically he's looking to scale to 6 figures. So I had a conversation with him about that. So with Mike, I don't think he really has, like, I think it's like him and his wife is helping out, and maybe his kids. So he doesn't like have like a team. So you don't need, he's just spending money on the leads basically. And this concept I call monetization momentum, where like if you buy, let's say for the first month you spend $5,000 on email addresses, and the traffic source that I'll be talking about, which is called Opt Intelligence, is for $5,000 you would get 10,000 email addresses. All right. So also basically you may, let's just say, break even after the first 2 weeks, and that's like being real conservative. Let's say you spend $2,500 the first 2 weeks, and at the end of that 2-week period, you've made your money back on those leads. Well, those leads, just because you made your money back doesn't mean that you will no longer make any more money off of those leads anymore. So those leads that you've bought and made your money back on will continue to generate revenue for you, like long term, like a long time. So that's a concept that a lot of people had to kind of like, at least what the people I was teaching had to understand, like, you know, like if you break even, say 2 weeks into it, and if you keep emailing those people different offers, and I show you guys how to do all that, you'll go from break even to like larger profit margins. And if you either are reinvesting that money in or just bringing a bigger budget to the table, you can front load it. So what we do on the traffic source, we're spending anywhere from $60,000 to $80,000 a month on that traffic source, and then we'll front load, like, so that's a couple, maybe 100,000, 150,000 or so leads a month, and we know we're going to make our money on those leads, within the first few weeks. So then in month 2, we have 100,000 leads that we that are just sitting waiting to get emails from us, and we're basically already profitable with those leads. Mm-hmm. So that second month, our margins are a lot higher. So instead of us having to spend another $60,000 on leads, if we wanted to, we could just mail those leads and make $40,000, $50,000 just from those leads without having any additional cost to generate more leads. So essentially, that's like one of the strategies that some people do. They'll front load it, and then they'll just mail those leads, and then they'll reinvest the money. Or if people want to kind of get comfortable with it, I recommend like $5,000 to start off with leads, seeing how getting comfortable with the mailing process, how to look at the stats and make decisions based off of the stats, and then make determinations on how you want to scale. So I say all that to say, basically, from a team perspective, you don't need a big team to run a couple campaigns. Like one of our guys, he's managing by himself, 7 campaigns. So because the campaigns are pretty automated. So after you set up one campaign, it's just kind of automated, and you're not doing like 8 hours of work a day. The thing is that when you want to scale, you don't want somebody by themselves managing like 20 different campaigns. You might want to have somebody else managing other certain campaigns, and I kind of break this all down. So that's when you want to have a team in place to kind of be monitoring different stats, so it doesn't get overwhelming for one person. The reason that we have a big team is because we do some more advanced types of mailing. And as Tyler and them, they do the type of mailing that I'll teach you guys, but they do some advanced stuff as well, which is why they have like a team of 12 people. And essentially, so Opt Intelligence is like a really simple way to get started. It's really the cost per lead is like 50 cents per lead, which is expensive, which is relatively expensive compared to some of the leads we get, but it's very high quality leads, so it makes sense from a return on investment standpoint. But as you start to get good at this stuff, you can tap into these other we call them data sources, where the leads are cheaper, but there's more of a advanced infrastructure set up to actually send those emails to them. And that's kind of like where those guys who are going from like 60, 70,000, 50,000 a month or whatever, and then consistently going to 150, 200,000 a month, where they have they're mailing through multiple accounts, and they have teams that are focusing on different things. So it's not something that you start off with. I don't recommend people starting off there, because there's a learning curve as far as like this industry, like the terminology, the type of offers, the conversations that you have to have with the account representatives at the companies, making sure you get you're calculating your revenue, like all those things. I want to make sure people understand that before they scale. So you can start with 5 people. They can all focus on creating 3 campaigns each, getting the hang of it. And then when the guy, and it might take 2 weeks, it might take a month for the team to say, okay, we're comfortable with this process. This is really simple. We don't really have to do much work. So how can we scale that? And then say, okay, now let's set up an account here and then some accounts here. Let's buy leads from this lead source, which we can get, say, 100,000 leads for maybe $1,000. The leads may not perform as well, but we can mail a lot quicker. So the margins, still make sense. So I guess there's like different levels to it. But for people who are new to it, I start them at Opt Intelligence because you can do 6 figures a month just there, but then you can kind of take it to other places, and then as you start to kind of see the bigger picture with the email marketing game, you can see you could take it to a lot of there's no limit to how you can take it. But I want to make sure people have a strong foundation first before they get before they overcomplicate their infrastructure, because I just found a lot of people, when they try to do too much too quickly, like if something breaks or something like that, or somebody forgets to look at the stats and they realize like they spent $1,000 and the link wasn't going to the right place and no conversions. I want to make sure people understand all those things first before they take it to the next level. But if you were spending like $5,000 a month on Op Intelligence, the first month you might make $2,500 profit or whatever, and then the second month, if you were continue to buy leads, those leads obviously would continue to generate money. But I can't say like a specific exact revenue figure because it really depends on like how often you're mailing the leads, the type of offers you're mailing. Again, I go through all this stuff, but it's not like it's not like it's just one offer, another offer. But I'll make sure you guys have everything you need. But as far as like the thing I say a lot to guys is like we let the stats make the decision. So if we see like a specific offer is converting well, we'll focus on getting as many leads to that offer as possible, as quick as possible to make as much money as possible. But as far as the revenue, like the ROI, like we like to see like 50% to 100% ROI, within the first month of whatever leads we bought if we're mailing them regularly. Like that would be pretty common for us. And then it's just a matter of just deciding what you're going to do with the money, if you're going to reinvest it or just come and bring a bigger budget to the table to just buy a lot more leads.
Okay. And what about, so like we're in the space of real estate and we actually buy leads from companies for motivated sellers. And is this transferable? So once we know how to do this, we can create email campaigns to actually find motivated sellers.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we do a lot of like most of the offers that we focus on are consumer finance offers, and it falls in that like refinance and mortgage leads. Like we do a lot of volume with people who are looking to refinance, and people who are looking for to basically refinance essentially, and then people who are looking for rent to own properties. So so that's absolutely. A lot of stuff we do, we're just generating leads for companies. They do what they do with the leads, and for instance, for us to generate just somebody to enter their name, phone number, and email address for interested in doing a refinance. We have a company that just pays us $32, and we generate several hundred leads a day for them just by sending emails. And they'll pay us that all day long. So that's how we do. We're just generating leads. But if you have your own product, obviously you can on the back end you can do whatever you want with those leads. But the principles are still the same. You're sending people who are interested, specific emails, either selling your product or somebody else's product, and just in our case getting a commission for each lead generated. But obviously you can get people into your funnel and to do what you do on that end as well.
Okay, that was what we. Yeah, no question.
The ClickFunnels?
Yes.
Could you kind of touch on that?
Sure. So yeah, basically, that's kind of going into the conversation for you guys as far as helping you build out your funnel for your own product and service. So ClickFunnels is just like there's several softwares out there that basically help you to generate leads yourself by creating landing pages that are high converting, that are easy to set up. So I don't know if you've taken a look at clickfunnels.com or not. So that's the site. It's owned by one of our friends, Russell Brunson. He's big. He's in our internet marketing space. He's kind of one of the top guys as far as creating funnels, building out sales funnels, and things like that. So from that standpoint, what that does, essentially, let's say you wanted to do a free webinar teaching people how to invest in real estate or whatever. You could use ClickFunnels. You could set up a nice-looking opt-in page to go to your webinar. Then basically they have some back-end follow-up sequences that you can set up where you're getting people excited about the webinar. You're inviting them to the webinar. I believe they have an I know there's an add-on where you can buy an automated webinar sequence. So unless you wanted to do live webinars, you can automate the process as well. So you're just generating traffic. People decide what time they want to go to the automated webinar, and then they get, on the webinar, it's either live or pre-recorded. And at the end of the webinar, the way ClickFunnels works is it can direct people to your sign-up page. So all ClickFunnels is just it's just a sales funnel basically. So you can do everything from creating video sales letters to long-form sales letters, and it's just nice, and it's in one seamless package. So you don't have to kind of piecemeal things. You don't have to like buy one product from here, then another product from another place, and it kind of does it all in one.
Okay. As far as speaking, just one thing on the real estate as well. As far as like say we were pushing international real estate, like some of the properties over in Mexico where we were. So we could create ads. What you'll teach us will be transferable enough to create ads to draw those type of clients in as well that's looking for international real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I could teach you that. And I guess just to clarify, are you looking for people who live internationally to generate? Or are you looking for people in your market who want to buy internationally?
In our market, who want to purchase internationally.
Okay. That's not a problem. Yeah, so basically the mechanisms are still the same. So it's like you can pretty much sell anything.
Right.
It's just like so just making sure you're obviously getting to the right marketplace. So right. So for us, most of our stuff is done by email, but we do Facebook advertising. Like if we're doing like local marketing, to local area, it's fairly easy to do Facebook advertising. Get that lead from Facebook, collect their email address or contact data, pass them through a webinar, give them a free guide or whatever you want to present to them, and then and then kind of you have them in your funnel, and then you're basically automating that process, putting them in your membership site, and things of that nature. So all that stuff kind of it ties all together. So however you guys wanted to kind of structure it, it's not like it would be like a completely different strategy, because at the end of the day, it's really just about generating the lead, getting them into your funnel, into your circle, of influence, and then basically just having the mechanisms in place to stay in contact with them, either through email, Facebook groups, or whatnot. So that means we do all that stuff. Again, our main focus is on the email side of things, but we've gone heavy on Facebook, Google. Like that's kind of where we came from before I really built out our email marketing company.
Okay.
And the returns were still the same?
Actually, if you own your own product, and you have like our returns, like with our own, like not consulting, but like if we like with Greg, for instance, if we're selling like $1,000 product, and if it's our own product, like our returns are, depending on how we're advertising, can be higher, because when you get people inside your funnel and you're building a brand of who you are, like say for instance you guys have 5,000 people that are in your funnel, they're listening to your webinars and they're getting your emails, or you're sharing information on, I think when you do Instagram or Pinterest, or so all that stuff, like that doesn't cost money, to like continue to generate those leads. So those people, and they might buy from you depending on the cost of your product. You can have higher margins, because the way that we're doing, what we essentially do on the email marketing side is we're just arbitraging. We're paying a certain price for a lead, and we're just trying to make more money than we paid for that lead. If you're branding your own product, you have a lot more leverage, like where you can basically sell multiple products to them that are higher end, and things like that. The reason that we do what we do, we work internationally. Like we can generate 10,000 leads a day, and we're not the ones that have to fulfill on it. So obviously there's a limitation of scale if you're selling your own product, and like I couldn't sell 1,000 consulting packages a day or something like that. I just wouldn't have the capacity to fulfill on that. But if I can generate 1,000 leads a day for an auto insurance company, because they have the capacity and they'll pay us happily for the privilege of generating those leads. So in this short term, like I guess what I'm trying to get at is that when we sell on my own product, like my newsletter and my other courses and things like that, like my margins are much higher, because I don't have I can just send an email to people, and and I can make $50,000 just from sending an email to them, but then I have to fulfill on it. So if you have your own product, you can have higher margins. It may not be as scalable. You might not be able to scale to like $500,000 a month from in 3 months without having the back end support and all that stuff in play. So but at the end of the day, the strategies are the same. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what. So how does then? So you mentioned about a 4-month game plan is when we sat down and talked. For the coaching.
Yeah.
So walk me through that 4 months.
Okay, good question. Yeah, so basically the first month is really, really the first 2 weeks is like, so the first 2 weeks is like just getting things set up. You could be making money by the end of the first week. I don't like, depending on how quickly guys are setting things up and implementing. Like we just had set up one guy's campaign, like 2 days ago, and he's making money today. It's not like he's making $1,000 a day, but he's generating money, and it's like right away. So it's the setup process does not take long at all. The thing that takes time, depending on like the experience and like the like how quickly guys want to move, is like just understanding our industry, the CPA marketing industry, like things like EPC, earnings per click, ECPM. So usually the first 30 days is really, you're making money. If everybody's following what I'm doing, you're making money. Making money that's not the issue. It's just understanding how the money's being made and why this all works, and understanding how to scale it. Because one of the things that we found when we train is that people will be like, oh, we're making money, but then they don't understand how to scale it up. It's like, well, how do I actually make more money doing this thing? So the first 30 days is kind of getting you to the point where it makes sense. Like, okay, I could see how this could be $100,000 a month project. And then when we get to that point, then it's like a separate conversation, kind of like where we are with Tyler and his team on taking them from $250,000 a month to $500,000 a month. So it's like different conversations about like the infrastructure, how you're managing your team, different softwares that you might have to implement that you might not, like, for instance, you're not going to need to utilize certain companies or certain softwares at like $40,000-$50,000 a month, but when you're getting to the 6 figures a month, you're going to want to be using other softwares and putting other things in place to maintain stability and all that stuff. So the first 30 days is just like kind of getting you understanding all that stuff. And then really after that, it's just a matter of just what we call optimization. So it's like, okay, Rico, we made $5,000 in profit the first month. We understand how the offers work. We understand how to split test. We understand how to pull the links from the different networks. We know how to have a conversation with different affiliate networks and all that stuff. But we noticed that this offer didn't make as much money. How can we make more money? So most of the conversations are going to be around that, like the data-driven decision conversations. So really, after day 30, that's like pretty much like all the guys that I work with. It's really about those conversations. It's like, what offers should we mail today, and or what offers are converting. How do we write our emails to get a better click-through rate? How do we get better opens? So that's going to be like an ongoing thing. So that's not going to be like something that we just talk about one time and then it. It's going to be like real lifetime stuff. Like today, because with email marketing, as you scale, like some days, could be fantastic, and other days could be okay. So I kind of equate it to like playing baseball. Like sometimes you hit a home run, sometimes you hit a base hit, but every day that you're doing something, you're making money. And the more diversified you are by like having other, say if you have a team of 5 people, maybe one of the people is like doing fantastically well. They're making money every day. They're managing campaigns. Then another guy's doing okay, but all in all, everybody's making money. Some people might be making more than other people. So you're going to have questions like, why is that happening? Why does this work this day and this doesn't work that day? And I'll kind of go through it in real time versus like trying to explain all the hypotheticals that can come up. But at the end of the day, it's really just about sending out those emails with relevant content to offers that people would be interested in and getting them to convert on them. That's really what we focus on.
Now, what about this space, though? Is it saturated? Like in real estate, I'm just trying to compare it to the market that we're in. We'll say that like this area of town is saturated. Everybody's over there trying to find, because it's hot, that it's appreciating. You can't keep the house on the market for longer than this time. So how is this space?
Yeah, it's not saturated. Actually, with email marketing, there's so much volume out there. So, like for instance, with Opt Intelligence, you're not gonna be able to scale one campaign to $100,000 a month. You might need 10 or 15 campaigns. But that does not. It's not necessarily that it's saturated. It's just that there's that particular traffic source just has only so much traffic to divvy up. But some days it'll kind of scale up. But what happens is people use that traffic source, and this is a more advanced strategy. They use that traffic source as a buffer, because not everybody wants to keep paying 50 cents a lead when they know, because in this industry people can get the leads for a penny, but when you get those leads for a penny, there's other things you have to do with them. It's not as automated as Opt Intelligence. So yeah, it's not saturated at all. As a matter of fact, the higher up you get to realize there's only a very few people that are like at kind of our level when we do different events, like we meet the same people who are doing it at a high level. So there's not a lot of people that do it at a high level. So it's not a situation where it's like, oh, we can't send any emails, everybody's sending the same emails type of situation. And if that's the case, there's so many different offers, there's so many different networks, there's so much traffic out there basically, and we're not dealing with just one city. We're dealing with, like in our case, we're dealing with multiple countries. But what I start most people off is with the United States. So from that standpoint, it's not a situation where it's saturated and it's not sustainable. Now there may be certain offers that you can only scale to a certain extent, but it's not a function of people promoting the same thing. It just might be a function of them. Like for instance, one of the offers that we promote is Bosley hair restoration, and at any given time they only give each affiliate 100 leads, and they pay like $30 per lead. So they might give you only 100 leads a month, but when you hit that 100 lead cap, they'll make sure that the quality is good, and then they'll give you another 100. So it's not like they don't have the volume. They just want to make sure there's like other mechanisms in place beyond saturation where you can only scale to a certain extent in the beginning. But as you start doing this longer and longer, people realize the quality of your traffic, because we're really just generating leads. So they're paying us money for things that they have not yet made money on. They're just assuming like, okay, well, this person completed this form, and when we know historically speaking that if somebody fills out this form, they're worth $50, so we're going to pay them $30. So as long as those numbers back out for them, they keep paying us. And this is the stuff that I help you guys out with. So that's kind of where the scale happens, like where it's like you try to scale, but then like they're not giving you as many leads as you want to have. But it's not a situation of too many people promoting the same offer. We don't have that issue.
Okay. So just so I'm clear, if we wanted to say be at $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month in 4 months, what type of investment, how do we front load that? What would we have to do to front load that? What are we looking at?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so let's say that if you invested so I look at it like this, like, so the first month you might make, if you invest $5,000, it might take you a month to spend all that. But if you have a bunch of campaigns, it might take you 5 days. Like, we would probably spend that in a few days. But I recommend starting off slowly, like spending $100 a day on leads, getting comfortable, then upgrading your raising your budget to like $500 a day, seeing how things pan out. So basically, maybe by the end of the first month, let's say you make $5,000, you realize like, okay, this works. I want to scale it up. So let's put $15,000 in the next month, and maybe that $15,000 brings you in $25,000, or $10,000 in profit, because you're factoring the leads that you generate from the month before. So basically, if people want to make like usually people like have like the $50,000 or $100,000 a month mark. Like if you want to do like $50,000 a month, I recommend having at least 50% of that invested into it on the front end, to front load that. And then so if you're wanting to do $30,000 a month, then like coming to the table with $15,000 in budget that you're willing to spend that month, because you might not make $30,000 that month, but those leads that you generated will basically, and then if you spend another $15,000 next month, those leads will basically the monetization momentum effect that I call, like the snowball effect, will get you to that point of $30,000 a month, which is not hard at all with what we do. Like, it's not difficult at all if you have the budget. That's the biggest thing. The guys, who were there at the event, Muhammad and Tyler and Mike, the reason that they're able to make money quickly is because they had the budget. They weren't, and then when they realized, like, okay, this works, this is scalable, they put that money up on the budget. So that's the easiest way to make the quickest money, versus like some guys who are trying to, spend $5,000 here, then wait till they get paid, and then spend like another $6,000, and then trying to hope that they're going to hit 30. So just a good rule of thumb, I say whatever you want to make, just assume that you want to invest at least half of that in at least the first month, and then eventually you won't need to keep doing that. Like I said, you'll have that snowball effect, and then usually when you get to that 30 to 50,000, let's just say 30,000 a month mark, then I'll start talking about other strategies where you can take all that data that you've been mailing, and you can just put it on these other platforms, and just like, that's when you have like $10,000 a week profit, or $10,000 days type of thing eventually, but like where you're not really spending hardly, you're spending very little money because you built up the funnel, you built it up. So that's kind of where like the guys like Tyler, and Mike's kind of getting there, and then Darren is one of the other guys that's kind of getting to that point where they built up these leads and they're taken to other platforms and they've already made the money on the leads, and then so they might mail 50,000 leads, and then they might make a quick $5,000-$6,000 that day, and then they mail them tomorrow, and then and it's all profit. So basically the stuff that we're doing is building up to something much bigger, so it's not like we're just going to only focus on intelligence. It's just kind of like a building block to bigger profit margins essentially, but you have to build up the data first, and opt intelligence is one of the easiest ways to do that, without having too many softwares and without much technical expertise that's needed to make it happen.
And that's why the 4 months, that's why you say the game plan is for 4 months, because the information has to build upon each other, but you have to essentially learn arithmetic first before you can teach me algebra, before you can teach me pre-cal, or calculus.
Exactly, yeah, because if I start talking about CPC offers versus CPM offers, like if you don't even know what that means, or like why that's important, and I'm like, okay, well, you need to mail on an enterprise ESP where they have these, so if I start talking about that level, and you're like, well, how do I split test an offer, so it's like there's things like that, like the basics, that you have to just feel comfortable with. You don't have to be a expert or anything like that. It's that you have to feel comfortable with it, because what's going to happen is, like, because it happened today to one of our guys, that's why I was laughing. Like, he sent out an email, he built up a list of 60,000 people on Opt Intelligence over the last maybe 2 or 3 months, and we moved those email addresses to another platform to mail them out, and like within the first hour there was 1,000 clicks, and each click we make $2 for each click, so he was like, oh, this is crazy, and so basically. But I kind of tell guys, I'm like, just wait and see what I've been talking about. So so now he sees it, and then now we're giving him access to other data sources where he can do that every day very easily. So he'll be at like $5,000-$6,000 a day in profits, like by the end of March. But he's built it up to that point, and he understands split testing. He understands how to diversify the offers. So it, just like you said, it's teaching you the basics and building on top of that. And if you have a team, it can happen a lot quicker. But I recommend having a team, because it's not like you have to, do this all yourself. Because we have a team. I oversee a lot of the stats and just make sure we're making more money than we're spending and all that good stuff. So.
Okay. So in the coaching program, what is the communication like? Is it weekly, daily, bi-weekly?
It's
hang out.
Yeah, most of the stuff I do is by email or Skype chats. I haven't done Hangouts. Usually we do Skype, like video calls if we need to. But most of the time, and this is fine. I have no problem doing this. It's just most of the guys we haven't done it like this. But basically, most of the conversations will basically be data-driven related. So, some guys want to talk about like hypotheticals and stuff like that, and I try to keep people on task. I'm like, we could talk about hypotheticals all day long, but let's talk about the numbers. Like, what do your numbers look like? How much money did you make? How much did you spend? How can we make this work better? Where did you maybe mess up? Because sometimes, you might be sending traffic to somewhere, and then you're not making any money. You don't see any clicks, and then we research it, and we find out that the links aren't working properly. So usually there's not a schedule. It's like basically, like I said, it's like when you guys get started, I do it's usually like 35 to 45 minute pre-recorded video, and I like log in and I say set up these accounts, and I just list all the places that you need to go and set up everything out. And then your job is to do it, and then basically I say, like, politely, like, don't contact me until you do all these steps. And then essentially at that point it's like, okay, now we're going to get to these steps. And then now it's time to set up the campaigns and start generating revenue. And then at that point, like, because that's just the setup part. But then the logistics comes into play, like where, okay, Rico, we sent out these emails and it did great, it did terrible, whatever happens. And then that's when we review it. Usually it's by back and forth by email or Skype, or if we do Google Chat or whatever is most comfortable for you guys. And then at that point we just kind of keep building upon the next step. So, okay, it's like, okay, guys, so you're making money with these 3 offers. Let's add another offer in. let's test this offer. Let's make sure that we're maximizing our open rates by doing X, Y, Z, and all that stuff. So it's like some guys, they'll say, they'll be like, hey Rico, can we hop on a call on Friday or something like that? And if they need to, like a lot of times when people are trying to scale, then we'll jump on a 30-minute call, what have you. But basically, at the end of the day, it's really about data-driven conversations is really what most of the communication is going to be.
So because it's like the one-on-one coaching versus just your package, then it's more so not okay, we talk on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but more so, hey, these are what our campaigns are doing, and so because you're actually making sure we're performing, and once we're performing, if we're having any questions, let's see how we need to either perform at a higher level.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'll be because I've done this so many times. Like I can see where like, okay, you guys need to do this better, or like this is working great. Let's focus on scaling this particular offer up. So I'll be looking at it, so we don't it's not like we do a call every Monday or something like that. Now, if you guys wanted to do that, we can do that. But again, most of the stuff we do is like I do a lot of videos because I want to make sure that people can reference stuff, because a lot of stuff we talk about, it might be technical and statistical based. So instead of me just saying, okay, so I record everything. So I usually use Camtasia. I'll send a screen. I'll send that out, and then basically I have the team review it. If I'm training a team, they take action on it, and then they give me their feedback. And if necessary, we can jump on a call. But most of the times, people just say, okay, Rico, I did X, Y, Z. And then they do it, and then they say, okay, this happened. Then I'll either communicate with them by Skype or email, say, do X, Y, Z. And then if necessary, if like say they're like, I'm having trouble doing this, or I don't understand this, and if it makes sense, I'll make a video saying, okay, well, here's how you set up, a cloud server or something like that if you needed to do that. So most of the stuff I record everything. So if you need to pass it on to a team, or if somebody needs to refer back to it, because a lot of stuff might get technical, and it's easier for me to record it and like show instead, actually show my screen and show exactly what I'm doing. And in some cases, me or one of my staff will log into your accounts, and if like set up like, here's how you set up an email address, or here's how something if need be. So but if it comes to a situation like some guys like I'm training their staff, we might have a 30-minute call on Tuesday mornings, just to see where they're at. But after the first month, we just have a couple questions here and there, but if they need to jump on a call for more strategies on how to scale, then we do that. So it's kind of as needed versus just like, let's just get on a call just because we need to get on a call. Now, as long as, and this is assuming everybody's doing what they need to do. So if it's a situation where I need to kind of stay on top of the team and make sure that they're hitting the milestones that I think they should be hitting, then we can do that if you guys feel that's necessary. But for the most part, like I said, the initial setup is fairly simple, and it's not like it's going to be heavy workload intensive for you to actually for actually to make it work.
Okay. So go ahead.
I was going to say, have you worked with anyone who actually was going after real estate investor leads, or not real estate investor leads as well as motivated seller leads? Because I noticed that in most of the industries, I know you spoke on, this is a global network, and there's different industries, but I've seen the most popular ones are the financial industries that you're saying. You sell to mortgage brokers and fitness and health. So what I don't want to do is test something, or should we start off in what's already proven and then transition?
Yeah, I would. Yeah. So yeah, I have worked with guys who are real estate brokers. Like we weren't working with them directly to like build out their funnel, but they were using what they learned from me to generate leads for themselves, basically for their own brokerage. And they do a lot of other stuff online too. So I just really help them on the email marketing side. But as far as like real estate is definitely, that's a huge market in our space. So we generate leads for like companies, like large, real estate, banks and things like that. But as far as you having to like reinvent the wheel or things like that, or test, like you wouldn't need to do that. You can test the waters, I guess you could say, with the offers that we market. But the way that it sounds like you guys are generating leads you're looking more for real estate investors, locally? Like, or is it like you're looking for like nationwide? Cause or how? What do you like? What are your goals with that?
Well, when I was speaking of actually the real estate side of it, I was more so I would like to see what you do first and what you know works in that space. But I wanted to make sure, I was just asking to see that when we did use what we can transfer that skill. We would have the same information or the same skill set to also, because there's a space that we're in where we're purchasing leads. So if we can get out of purchasing leads and actually creating our own is where I was looking at taking the information you shared to go there.
Okay, yeah, that's not a problem. Yeah, so from that standpoint, yeah, generating the leads, that's the simple part of it. Like being able to generate your own leads, it's really just about the monetization. So like we know what offers are going to pay us the most money for somebody completing a form. But when you're talking about building out your own offer, there's other metrics that go into play with it, because you're not going to make money just because somebody completes a form. You're going to make money when you either sell that lead or or whatever, however you're monetizing that lead after the fact. So from that standpoint, there's different metrics involved on the back end. Like a lot of stuff, that we work with, the reason why a lot of guys like what we do is because they're just dealing with the front end. They're generating a lead, and they let whoever that gets that lead handle the monetization of that lead and making it make the money that they're paying us and making it make sense. So from that standpoint, it's the process is on the front end the same. So what I would recommend you doing is like seeing how we do what we do, looking at the offers and kind of going through the offers and saying like, how are they making money on the back end of this stuff, and then figuring out where you want to go as far as that's concerned, because there's a lot of different directions. Like if you're selling your own product, doing webinars, that's one direction. Some guys are just getting the leads and they're what we call a ping tree, and they're selling that lead to like 5 other people, and they're just arbitraging that lead on their end, but they're just selling it directly to the banks, where we might be just selling it to a broker and they're paying us just a flat fee for that lead. So there's a lot of different ways on the back end that we've done. We've done it in auto insurance, we've done it with grants, we've done it with business opportunity, like stuff like where there was a network marketing opportunity on the very, very back end, but on the front end it was just like we were just an ebook or something like that. So we understand those metrics. So if you wanted to have a conversation about that after you get the basics right on the front end, then yeah, like me, Greg, and a lot of our partners are pretty deep onto that end as well.
Okay, good. Okay, any questions?
Cool.
Chris?
Y'all ask all the questions.
Yes, we try.
Monty? Precious?
Monty's question. When do we
Oh
start?
yeah, Monty's my daughter's question was, when do we start?
Okay, yeah. Whatever you guys need to go over, I can and like kind of to get started. Yes, just like the payment arrangements that we discussed, and as soon as the payment's sent, I would make the video and I would say like it would be like immediate, because again, the front end is real simple. Like I don't want to make it like overly complex. It's like super simple. It works really well. So we keep it simple and we just kind of build upon it.
That's all we know. Rico, we couldn't hear
Yeah.
Everything you just said was like breaking up. We couldn't. Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So the last question was,
When do we start?
I would say every guys are ready to go. So I was saying like as far as like and everything like that, whenever I would do the game plan video and then you just implement. So the game plan would be like 45 minutes on average. I make it specifically for whoever I'm working with, and then I send it to you, and then it's like just do those apps. It's just a matter of just funding campaign, putting them in for the lead, and just letting it run. So and then like I said before, that's when the conversation starts happening with like authorization, how to do it with what, and then we can get on calls, whatever we need to do. So yeah, we can start whenever you guys are ready. We have I have time to really make sure that you guys have everything you need.
Okay.
Keep breaking up.
Yeah.
It's breaking up. Hello.
At least he finished.
Rico.
Is he still driving?
Yeah.
Rico, can you hear us?
Right in the back.
He's gonna be like, I don't remember seeing Precious with her hair like this.
Should I stop it?
Yeah, I think so.